relationship between water, energy, agriculture, and climate is very significant. However, it is falling out of balance and negatively affecting food, water, and energy security. The increasingly warmer climate is causing glaciers to melt more rapidly than we would like. Glaciers are a global fresh water supplier and act as natural reservoirs, storing water in the winter and dispensing it in the summer when the ice melts slowly. As glaciers melt more quickly, stream flow will change and the temperatures of streams will change. A diversity of biological species depend on water flow for their habitats and food, and a constantly changing stream flow alters how these species survive. Climate change isn't the only factor contributing to the water crisis. Agriculture, mining, oil drilling, and many other industries dump chemical waste into water sources, leaving our water unsafe to drink, bathe, and irrigate while also destroying wildlife habitats.
And one would hope that all of these 8,000 cancer-causing poisons are somehow addressed under federal and state authorities, including the Clean Water Act. Shockingly, this is not the case. It seems that less than 300 chemicals have permit limits. Today's hearing provides us the opportunity to ask why this is the case. It's not as if emerging contaminants are a new issues of concern for either the Congress or the EPA. In 1996, through the Food Quality Protection and Safe Drinking Water Acts, the Congress instructed EPA to develop a screening program to determine if certain chemicals and compounds disrupt hormones in humans. In the 12 years since this mandate was put forward, the agency has not begun to test any chemicals under this program, despite the potential for these chemicals and compounds to cause great harms to individuals, especially to children and pregnant women.
Save water. Install low-flow toilets in your faucets. Take short showers. Turn off water when you're brushing your teeth.
What are some ways we can do to fix the lack of water sanitation?
So do you mean globally? Yes. Developed countries have a pretty good system in that in developed countries, United States, Western Europe, water goes through it's very simple, but it's an effective way of treating wastewater so that we get out the garbage, we get out the organic waste, and that's pretty good. So at that point, your water is considered 90% clean. There is the technology, and where I live in Bothell, you can take wastewater through tertiary treatment, so then it's 99% clean, and that water is being used out in Snohomish Valley for irrigation, so that you decrease the need to use drinking water for irrigation. I think we need to really look at how we can build small wastewater treatment centers in developing countries because they can't afford the infrastructure that we have.
Clean water is essential for our survival. How do we use the water we need and not destroy our natural?
Let's preserve and protect our water. Some ways are habitat protection. Wild lands are preserved. More regulations.
Let's increase water treatment.
Some ways are more engineering. Fewer land development regulations. More chemical treatment.
There's been more than 50% loss in freshwater species. How will that affect U.S. in the next years?
As far as a food source, I think that's important. If we can think beyond, our reliance on freshwater species for food, I think it's going to really change just how cool our world is, how aesthetically pleasing it is. I mean, to me, diversity is one of the most special things we have on Earth. So just losing that diversity, I think, is going to be difficult. And then I think we're going to see the connections between species. I mean, a lot of birds rely on freshwater fish. A lot of amphibians rely on fresh water for their food. So it could very well be like a cascade effect, and we're just starting to see what's happening in that area.
Many salmon species in the Pacific Northwest are endangered. They rely on clean water and management of hydroelectric dams.
The Clean Water Act of 1977 is the primary federal law in the United States, which governs water and pollution.
Congress, since 1972, has had a proud record on behalf of public health, on behalf of our environment, and protecting the people of this country from the dangers of dirty water. Before the Clean Water Act, we saw rivers that caught fire. We had, in the Chesapeake Bay, the first dead zone, marine dead zones that were reported. And we made a commitment as a nation that we were going to do something about clean water. And Congress, in a very bipartisan way, passed the Clean Water Act as a commitment to the people of this country that we would take steps to protect their drinking water, to protect their public health, to protect their environment, so that the people of this country, the legacy would be a cleaner water for future generations.
But in the past few years, questions have arisen contemplating which waters the acts protect.
For the last 7 or so years, there's been a lot of confusion around that. There were a couple of really confusing Supreme Court decisions that threw into question what waters get protection under the Clean Water Act. So pretty much everybody at this point agrees that big rivers and the streams and creeks that flow into them should get protection. And pretty much everybody agrees that the wetlands near them should get protection. But there's other types of water, streams that, maybe only flow during certain parts of the year, or maybe only in response to rainfall, that there have been a lot of questions around. And there's actually a lot of those streams, particularly in the West. And wetlands that aren't right next to a major body of water, nobody's really known if those get protection or not. And this is really important because the Clean Water Act does a lot of things, and which waters fall into it, that's the very starting point for it.
Puget Sound and the animals that live in it are impacted by waters that run off our streets, yards, and down our drains. As our local population grows, it becomes even more vital for all of us to help preserve the spectacular beauty and health of Puget Sound.